you're an anthropologist by trade, a social anthropologist, and what a social anthropologist does is to go into the field, whatever their field is, and observe and notice and, in a sense, make themselves as inconspicuous as possible. But a word that you use a lot in your book is disruption, and you're talking about disrupting our habits and practices and so on. So it feels to me like you're doing something non-anthropological, because you're kind of going in and you're to mix the metaphors, you're stirring up the pond, or you're disrupting things to see what happens, rather than just quietly observing how you are normally. You're forcing yourself to, or inviting us to do what we would not normally do again and again. Right?
Yeah, I think I'm doing that because I feel that otherwise we're not aware that we are in a human bias perspective.
Yeah.
And I would say, although it might look not anthropological, and I think I've grown myself. I mean, anthropology has been a very useful discipline, but I've also grown out of it, and that kept just what is valuable to me. But there is a strong self-reflective practice in anthropology, or your perspective.
Yes, yeah.
So you're coming, because you are the tool for which you receive information. And in a way, I took that a step further. I think there's not enough acknowledgement in anthropology. There is acknowledgement of that bias perspective, but how it's a whole body and how you behave, that is part of it. And I think I'm taking that a real step further. And that's why we need to I wanted people to bring disruption to your movement, because that's how you can really feel the difference. It's really, otherwise we're so used to it, we're so in the conditioning that we can't even see it's conditioning. So, which is why it's hard. So as an anthropologist, it's easier because we work human to human. So we're like, oh, I can see what culture is different from mine, I don't do it that way, But beyond the human, we're so comfortable with the human and us as being this superior species. We don't want the reality of that other beings that we have something to learn from, because it's been a narrative that's been so strong for so long. I mean, obviously there are cultures that still have some of this quality of being connected with the environment. I personally believe our ancestor had that. I don't know to which level, but we colonize ourselves so much over the years that we don't even know where it is, where it's come from. And I guess my book somehow is about refinding that intelligence and that knowledge that we've lost. So rather than go and find it in another culture which has its own problem of reappropriation, is how can we learn to connect to that body wisdom that our ancestors have, that other cultures have, and develop that ourselves. Yeah. And have different narratives of who we are, because the narrative we have are not right in terms of our position as, we can take whatever we want and do whatever we want. Yeah. But that needs to start with recognizing that our perspective is biased, and so the narratives that come from that are biased, and learn from other beings on this planet. And it means developing other ways of knowing and communicating that are not words. And that's why it's so difficult for us, because that's what we know. And that's why the body is, I believe, the entry point into this.